welcome into the ITLS Academy. Myself, Dr. Himani, and today we are going to discuss about the dietitian reference value. What is the dietitian reference value and the recommendations and guidelines regarding dietitian reference value. So let's start with this. What is the nutrition requirement and why we need a nutritional requirement for our health? So three main type of dietitian recommendation may be produced by public health agencies. First one is dietary allowance, second one is the dietary goals, and third one is the dietary guidelines. So dietary allowance are quantitative guidelines for different population subgroups for the essential macro and micronutrients to prevent nutritional deficiency. And if we talk about the dietitian goal, so dietitian goal are quantitative national target for selected macronutrients and micronutrients aimed at preventing long-term chronic disease like heart artery disease, stroke, or cancer. They are usually aimed at the national population level rather than the individual level. And if we talk about the third one is the dietary guidelines. So dietary guidelines are broad target aimed at the individual to promote nutritional well-being. They were initially introduced for macronutrients but are now being used for micronutrients. Dietary guidelines can be expressed as quantitative target like 5 serving of fruits and vegetables per day, or as a qualitative guidelines like eat more fruits and vegetables. So in 1991, a committee of experts researched and set the dietary reference value. This short form is DRAVS. So dietary reference value are a series of estimate of the amount of energy and nutrients needed by different groups of healthy people. It is important to recognize that individual nutritional need vary widely. These figures are based on population group, not individuals. So let's know about the dietary reference value. What is the actually dietary reference value? Dietary reference value are quantitative reference value for nutritional intake derives for different population group based on health criteria. Sorry. So dietary reference guide professionals on the estimate quantities of energy and nutrients need to support adequate growth, development and health while reducing the risk of deficiency and non-communicable disease such as heart disease or cancer. So what is the definition of the dietary reference value? So dietary reference value is an umbrella term for set of nutrient reference value that include the average requirement, the population reference intake, and the adequate intake and the reference intake range for macronutrients. Why dietary reference value is important? Dietary reference value are important for supporting public health, developing or labeling law, and identifying population at risk of over or under consumptions. However, the process of developing them is complex and they should not be viewed as a recommendation or goal for individuals. Rather, they require interpretation by professional and can form the basis of dietary advice. Now, we will discuss about the source of energy. What is the source of energy for us? So let's talk about the nutrients first. So nutrients, the dietary reference values below are specified mainly for adults. They define the proportion of a total energy intake which should come from different components of food. These include fat and fatty acid, fibers, starch, and sugars. Note that these values do not apply to children and children younger than 5 with small appetites should not have such restriction imposed. So you can see in this chart for the nutrients like if saturated fatty acid require not more than 11%, polyunsaturated fatty acid required for the body is 6.5%, monosaturated fatty acid is required 13%, trans fat not more than 2%, total fat 35% be required, non milk extrinsic sugar is should be required almost 11%, and strict milk sugar and starch 39%, total carbohydrate 50% be required, and fiber as non-starch polysaccharide 18% not applicable to the children under 5. So this table indicates the nutrition value in the adult body. So now we will discuss about the salt. The guideline salt intake for adult is about 6 gram of salt, approximately 1 teaspoon. The Food Standard Agency estimates the average salt intake is about 8.6 gram per day. A high salt diet is likely to increase the risk of high blood pressure, which is associated with an increased risk of heart attack or stroke. So this table indicates the targets salt intake in different age groups. So if we talk about the 0 to 6 month baby, less than take 1 gram of salt, and 7 to 12 month person can take 1 gram salt, and 1 to 3 years person can be take a 2 gram salt, and 4 to 6 year person can be take 3 gram, 7 to 10 years old person is required 5 gram, and more than above 11 year people should be take almost 6 gram of salt. Now we will discuss about the other source of energy is like protein, vitamins and minerals. So recommendation for protein, vitamin and minerals vary by age, where different intakes for males and females are recommended. The higher value is identified in the table below. The ensure that the greatest daily need of the group is met. So you can see in this table, protein is required these are the table is indicated on different age group like 1 to 3 years age group. This is the 4 to 6 years age group, 7 to 10, 11 to 14 years, 15 to 18 years adult, 19 to more than 15 years, and adult or more than 15 years people. um, if we talk about the protein, so it should be for the this category 15 gram, and 4 to 6 year category 20 gram, 28 gram, and 42 gram, 55 gram. And if you are just coming in this group, so you should take protein almost 50 gram. And if you are more than 50 years old person, then you require 53 gram of protein for your body. So you can see in this picture nutrient values like iron, zinc, vitamin A, folate acid and vitamin C concentration according to your age group. Now we will discuss about the dietary reference value have been set for following age group. You can see in this table, like for the boys and girls, if you aged like 0 to 3 month, this group is set for the dietary reference value. 4 to 6 month person, 7 to 9 month person, 10 to 12 month person, 1 to 3 years, and 4 to 6 year, and 7 to 10 years old person. Age group is come into the dietary reference value. And if we talk about only for males, aged 11 to 14 years, 15 to 18 years, 90 to 50 years, and more than 50 years. And about the female, if we talk, so if female is aged into 11 to 14 years, then dietary reference values come into this in this age group, and 15 to 80 years, 90 to 50 years, and more than 50 years. And yes, for the pregnancy and breastfeeding female also come into the dietary reference value tag. Now we will discuss about the type of dietary reference value. The dietary reference value can be divided into three types. First is RNI, second is EAR, and third is LRNI. Sorry. So if we talk about the RNIs, is called the reference nutrient intake. 95% of population required is met. You can see in this graph is a RNI. 95% of population required is met on this graph. And if we talk about the, you can see in this the here RNI is not the same as RDA. The RDA is recommended daily allowance or GDA, although they are often similar. And if we talk about the EAR, EAR means estimated average requirement. 50% of the population required is met. You can see in this graph, 50% population required this one. And if we talk about the LRNI, is low recommended nutritional intake. Only 5% of population required is met this one. So now let's talk about the first thing is reference nutrition intake. What is the reference nutrition intake? Is a amount of nutrient that is enough to ensure that the need of nearly all groups are being met. The majority will need less. You can see in this picture the distribution of nutrient requirement within a population. And reference nutrition intake for the different group is like, if we talk about the children, so vitamin A microgram per day is required for the in this age group required 350 microgram. 4 to 6 month person required 350 gram. And you can see in this picture different age group. If children is come into the under 7 to 10 years old, then he or she required almost 500 microgram vitamin A per day. And if we talk about the meal, though, then definitely if you are coming in this age group, then you require 600 microgram vitamin A per day. And if you come in 19 to 50 years in this age, then you require 700 microgram vitamin A. And if you are more than 50 years old person, then again you require 700 microgram per day vitamin A. If we talk about the female, so yes, if you are more than 50 plus old lady, then you require 600 microgram per day vitamin A. If you are pregnant lady, then you require more than 100 microgram per day. And you lactation if you are going into the lactation phase, then you require more than 350 microgram vitamin A per day. Now we will talk about the second types is the estimated average requirement. The estimated average requirement is an estimate of the average requirement of energy for a nutrient. Approximately 50% of the population will need less energy or the nutrients, and 50% of the population will need more. You can say in this table EAR for the energy. Here you can see this is this table for the children, and this is children. If children is boys, then uh, this is the requirement, and if children is girl, then this is the requirement as per the age. If the girl is come into the 7 to 10 years age, in between 7 to 10 years age, then she required 7.28 mg per day EAR. So now we will talk about the third types of the reference value. So the low reference nutrient intake is the amount of nutrient that is enough for only the small number of people who have low requirement. The majority of the population will need more. The following these two tables show the percentage of the male and female population in Britain who were not achieve the lower reference nutrient intake of vitamins and minerals in 2003. Here is the we can define it as or years. Less than 4 years, in between 4 to 6 years, 7 to 10 years, 11 to 12, 14 years, 15 to 18 years, 19 to 34 years old person, and 30 to 35 to 64 years old person, and more than 65 years old person. Riboflavin is required for this group 6. Again, in this group also required 6, but if you are more than 65 years old person, then you require only 2 percent for the low reference nutrient intake. And if we talk about the vitamin B12, then yes, if you are come into this age group, then you require 1 low reference intake. In this group, 0% requirement of vitamin B bar. Same you can see in this table. If we talk about the iron, definitely if you come into the in this age group, then you require 3, and if you come into in this age group, you require 1. And if we talk about the calcium, definitely if you come in this age group, you require 12. If you come into this is in this age group, then you require 9. So you can see in this table according to you your age, which type of which amount of calcium, iron, riboflavin are required for your body. Now we will discuss about the applying DRAVs. DRAVs can be used in policy making, healthcare, the food industry, and academic research. They can be used for dietary assessment, planning diet, and developing dietary recommendation for the individual or groups and for the food labeling. Dietary reference value, we can say that, are important for ensuring adequate intake of energy and nutrients occur throughout life. Many health concerns and illness are linked to malnutrition. The dietary reference value assist in preventing malnutrition. In short, we can say that EAR is used for energy. RNI is often used as a reference amount for population group, and LRNI is a useful measure of nutritional inadequacies. The UK Food Standard of Agency issued guidelines on dietary recommendation on behalf of the Department of Health for general public. The current government recommendations are outlined in the table below. So you can see in this table, this is the government dietary recommendation table. You can see in this table total fat required reduced, total fat why we recommended is reduced to no more than 35% of food energy. And if you talk about the saturated fat, reduced to no more than 11% of the food energy. Total carbohydrate is increased more than 50% of the food energy. Sugar no more than 11% of food energy. Dietary fibers increase the average intake of dietary fiber to 18 gram per day. Currently 13.8 gram per day. Children intake should be less. If we talk about the fruits and vegetable, so increase to at least 5 portions, 400 gram of variant of fruits and vegetables per day. Currently 2.8 portions per day. Alcohol should not provide more than 5% of energy in the diet. Women should not regularly drink more than 2 to 3 unit of alcohol per day. And if we talk about the men, should not be required drink more than 3 to 4 unit of alcohol per day. And now we will talk about the salt consumption. Yes, for the adult, no more than 6 grams salt is required a day, and 1 to 3 years person required 2 grams salt a day. 4 to 6 year person required 3 gram. 7 to 10 years required 5 gram, and 11 and over this age required 6 gram of the salt. Now the discussion about the current dietary goal, recommendation and guidelines. The evidence for nutritional recommendation comes from range of source, but particularly emphasis is placed on COMA, is called Committee on Medical Aspects of Food Policy reports. 1991 COMA report on energy and nutrient provided evidence for the dietary recommendation for total fat, saturated fat, total carbohydrates, sugar and dietary fibers. 1994 COMA recommended reducing the average salt intake of the population to 6 gram a day based on evidence of a link between high salt intake and high blood pressure. In 2003, the SSCN reviewed the evidence like in intersalt study and dietary approaches to stop hypertension or sodium trial since 1994 and concluded the strength for the association between high salt intake and hypertension had increased. High blood pressure increased the risk of stroke and cardiovascular disease. So SSCN confirmed that reducing salt intake to 6 gram per day would benefit the whole population. Evidence for increasing the consumptions of fruit and vegetable to 5 a day is provided by a number of sources. The Department of Health estimates that eating at least 5 portions of a variety of fruits and vegetables can reduce the risk of death from chronic disease like heart disease, stroke and cancer by up to 20%, delay the development of cataracts, reduce the symptoms of asthma, improve bowel function, and help to manage diabetes. So, guys, I hope you will all enjoy this lecture. Thank you for listening me. If you have any doubt, then definitely you can call me or you can just mail me, and you can just follow us by this Insta, by this Facebook, and um, just different social media side. So, guys, thank you very much for the for listening me. Thank you again.